mental activities and those with specific objects. We have briefly explained the 6 groups of mental activities, but now we must speak in some detail of their specific characteristics. What are the characteristics of the first 2 groups? First, universal mental activities, contact, etc. Next, those with specific objects, that is, desire, resolve, memory, samadhi, and discernment, whose objects are not the same. The treatise says, among the 6 groups of mental activities, first, the 5 universal, mental activities, contact, etc., are as discussed earlier at length. How should we understand their characteristics? Through the fixed means of knowledge of teachings and reason. As for teachings, a scripture says, visual consciousness arises with eyes and material objects as its conditions, and the union of these 3 is called contact, sparsa. Along with contact are feeling, conceptualization, samdra, volition, etc. Consequently, these 4, contact, etc., are universal mental activities. Another scripture says, if the faculty has not deteriorated and objects appear, and attention properly occurs, then it can produce consciousness. Another text also says, if there is attention directed toward an object, then there is perception of the object. If there is perception, there will be attention. Thus these 2 are always united, etc. Consequently, attention is also universal. Many scriptures prove this.
As for reason, for the arising of consciousness there must be a union of the 3, organ, object, and consciousness. That definitely produces contact. Contact must be present, because without it, mind and mental activities do not unite to contact an object. Attention directs mind to its object, and without it, there is no mind. Feeling experiences an object that is agreeable, disagreeable, or neutral, and it makes mind feel joy, distaste, or indifference, because mind is never present without one of these feelings. Conceptualization establishes the particulars of the object, because if mind arises without conceptualization, it is unable to grasp the particulars. Volition makes mind perceive the characteristics of proper causes, of good, etc., and creates good actions, etc. Volition must be present, because mind does not occur in the absence of good, etc. Through these logical proofs, you must know that these 5 dharmas, contact, etc., are universal, because they are necessary for mind to occur. The reason other, mental activities, are not universals will be discussed later.
11. Mental activities with specific objects. Next are the mental activities, with specific objects, i.e., those from desire, chanda, through discernment, prajid. Their objects are not, always, the same, for the most part. They are next to the first of the 6 groups in the 30 verses. What is desire, chanda? Desire has as its nature a wish for a pleasing object, and its activity is that of supporting effort. There is one interpretation that pleasing means a delightful object, because a wish exists when one desires to see, hear, etc., some delightful thing. Why is it not desire when one wishes to be apart from a detestable thing and not associated with it? Desire seeks only the time of nonunion or separation, which is, itself, delightful, but it is not desire for something detestable. Therefore an object that is detestable or neither delightful nor detestable is never desired, and there is no desire if a delightful object is not wished for.
There is another interpretation that pleasing refers to things one wishes for, because one wishes for either union with the delightful or separation from the detestable. There is never desire for a neutral thing, nor is there desire when the pleasing or detestable object is not wished for. There is a third interpretation that pleasing means an object one wishes to examine, because when one desires to examine and investigate everything, there is a wish. If one does not desire to examine, due to the power of the cause or object, and simply perceives the object spontaneously, there is no desire at all.
Reason thus leads to the conclusion that desire is not a universal, mental activity. There is an interpretation, by the Sarvastivadins, that mind and mental activities grasp objects as a result of the power of a wish for the object, and therefore a scripture says that desire is the root of all dharmas, and therefore universal. However, this cannot be the case, because mind, etc., grasps objects because of attention, and not desire. Various holy teachings say that when attention is present, it produces consciousness, and no source says that desire generates mind and mental activities. The scriptures also say craving is the foundation of all dharmas, but how can it generate mind and mental activities? Therefore, when it is said that desire is the root of all dharmas, it means all actions produced by desire, or it means that good desires produce proper efforts and aids in the accomplishment of all good things. That is why the present treatise says that the activity of desire is the support of effort.
What is resolve? Its nature is that of correct ascertainment with regard to an object that is definite and beyond doubt, and its activity is that of not allowing the object to be doubted. That is, through the power of false or correct teachings, reasoning, or experience, one is certain and correctly ascertains the object in question. As a consequence, other conditions are unable to change one's mind. Therefore, resolve is wholly absent if the object is indefinite, and it is likewise absent if the mind is uncertain. Consequently, resolve is not categorized as a universal. There is the opinion that if, when the mind and mental activities grasp their own objects, there is no obstacle, then they are provided with resolve. That is incorrect. Why? Because it is all dharmas that cannot obstruct, and it is mind and mental activities that are not obstructed. It is the organ and attention that prevail in the generation of mind. If they prevail as a result of resolve, this will subsequently require other conditions, and that will result in an infinite regress.
What is memory, Smritai? Its nature is that of causing mind to record clearly and not forget an object that has been experienced, and its activity is that of supporting samadhi, because it steadily holds an experienced object and prevents its loss, thus inducing samadhi. There is no memory of something not already experienced, nor does memory occur if that which is experienced is not clearly recorded. Therefore, memory cannot be included among the universals. There is an opinion that when mind arises, it must be accompanied by memory, because it is the cause for a subsequent recollection. This argument is unreasonable, because it cannot be that something like faith or delusion existed previously, as a cause. Prior mind and mental activities, or the power of conceptualization, suffice to be the later cause of recollection.
What is savanir/? Its nature is that of causing mind to be absorbed in attention on a contemplated object and not become distracted, and its activity is that of supporting knowledge. When contemplating the virtues, defects, both, or neither of an object, samadhi causes the mind to be absorbed and prevents its distraction. Supported by it, knowledge that is certain is born. The words, absorbed in attention, show that mind dwells where it wishes to dwell, not just on one object. Otherwise, there would be no uniform maintenance of attention on the path of insight when one contemplates various truths in a sequence, with differing objects. If the mind is in a state where it is not fixed in attention on the object, there is no samadhi, and therefore it is not included among the universal mental activities.
There is an opinion that even then, when mind is abstracted, there is samadhi, except that its characteristics are subtle and obscure. People, claiming this, should speak honestly and straightforwardly. If samadhi is a universal because it makes mind, etc., unite with and be directed to an object, that is not reasonable, because that is the function of contact. If itis claimed that samadhi makes the mind remain unchanged for the space of an instant, and for that reason is universal, that is also unreasonable, because the mind itself does not change objects during an instant. If it is claimed that it is universal because it grasps an object, this is also unreasonable, because it is attention that does that. There is another opinion that samadhi is in essence mind itself, because a scripture says that samadhi is mental training, or mind united with an object. But that is not a convincing proof. It says that in the sense that samadhi unifies the mind and causes it to unite with an object. Samadhi, included among the faculties, indriya, powers, bala, aspects of awakening, bodhyanga, and aspects of the path,